Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm taking you guys to the gym with me today, and I'm going to be showing you my top favorite glute exercises. I feel like the longer I've been in the gym and like the more I've matured in the gym, I've stopped just kind of trying to do every single thing. Like every leg day I was doing a new set of exercises, but now I feel like I've just like perfected the form of my favorite exercises, and I just really like the ones that I like. And the glutes have been growing recently, so I'm going to show you all of my favorite glute exercises, and I'm going to show you how to do them properly to make sure that they are being done in a glute biased way, because there are a lot of exercises that can be really great for glute growth, but it's all about how you do them. So we're going to go through all of my favorite glute exercises. I'm going to show you the form for them and give you little cues for each exercise that will help you in the gym to make sure you're making them glute biased, as well as I'll tell you how I structure them in my workouts. So we're going to head to the gym in a second, but first we gotta do a little fit check. So I have the Adapt Animal X Whitney shorts, because since we're doing a glute video, no other pair of shorts would really make sense, as these are the glutiest shorts I own. And then I paired them with the twist front bra in the like light purple color. I had my besties on TikTok help me pick them out. That's what I've been doing recently, because for some reason recently I cannot make up my mind in putting my gym fit together. So my TikTok gals have been coming to my rescue. Okay, let's go. Okay, first exercise is going to be hip thrust, whether you're doing them on a machine like this or the Smith machine or with a barbell. I honestly usually just do the machine because it takes less time to set up, but I do typically do these towards the beginning of my workout. Hip thrusts are going to feel different on you based on your personal biomechanics. Some people are naturally just going to feel them more in their hamstrings. Some people will feel them more in their quads. So to make sure you're really feeling these in your glutes, you're going to want to play around with foot placement. If you tend to feel these more in your quads, you're going to want to move your feet out away from you a little bit more, and vice versa. If you feel these more in your hamstrings, you'll want to move your feet in closer to your body. Now, if no matter what you do with your foot placement, you're still not feeling these in your glutes, a cue that really helps me to not feel them in my hamstrings, instead of pushing down through your heels, you're actually going to be driving the floor away from you. So through the balls of my feet, I'm pushing away. Now, if you're feeling these in your low back, you're going to want to focus on what your core is doing. So when we're coming down, you don't want to let your back arch and your ribs flare out. You want to keep this solid here. Keep the brace even on the way down, slow and controlled. See how this is staying straight instead of this. Keeping my core brace, pushing the floor away from me through the balls of my feet, controlled on the way down, squeeze and hold. I like to go pretty high volume with these, so I do 3 to 4 sets of typically 8 to 10, but sometimes 12 reps. Okay, if you follow me on Instagram, you've definitely seen me talk about these before, because these are my #1 favorite glute exercise of ever. And they are step ups / touchdowns. I call them touchdowns, not step ups, because we're not starting on the ground, stepping up onto the box and then back down. We're actually gonna start on top of the box, hinge down. We're not dropping any of our weight on the bottom foot, and then we're going back up. So I call them touchdowns. I like to use a kettlebell, but you can hold a dumbbell. It really doesn't matter. You wanna have your box or whatever you're stepping on like a foot or 2 away from something in front of you that you can keep your balance with. You don't want to be too close to the wall, because that's going to stop you from being able to hinge. So to make these more glute biased, we're focusing on flexion at our hip, so this movement, instead of flexion at our knee. So what you don't want to do is step down like this, letting your knee come forward over your toe, not because that's a bad thing, but that's going to make it more quad focused. Instead, you're going to try and keep your knee back, because the less you bend at your knee, the more you have to bend at your hip to get down to the ground. So first movement, think hinge at your hips. Keep that knee back all the way till this toe touches the floor. You don't want to drop any of your weight on this foot, because you're going to have to use this bottom leg to push off the floor, and that's just taking work away from this working glute. So your body weight's balanced in the middle of your foot. You're not on your heels or your toes. You're thinking hinge first, keep that knee back, don't drop any weight on the ground, and then you're driving this top foot. That hurt. Driving this top foot down through the box. I like to push my weight with these. Like, I want my last rep to be so hard that I almost don't get all the way up. So I'm typically doing 6 to 8 reps on each leg for these, sometimes 10. And once I'm comfortably doing 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, I'm moving up in weight and going back down to 6 reps. And because we're hinging so much at our hips, you're gonna want a lower box. If your box is up too high, you're gonna have to bend that knee more to get all the way down. And like I said, that's gonna make your quads work, and we want all of the work being done by this glute. You can even pause down here at the bottom to make it even harder. All right, next we have RDLs. I prefer doing dumbbell RDLs because I'm going a little bit more for volume as opposed to strength with these. And obviously doing barbell RDLs, you can put a lot more load on. Well as with dumbbells, I like to hold them at my sides because I feel like it shifts your center of gravity back just a little bit, as opposed to with a barbell, you're gonna be in front. And I feel like I can get a little bit of a deeper stretch in my glute this way. But either way, they're a great glute exercise. Regardless of how you do these, you're going to be working your glutes and your hamstrings, really your whole posterior chain. But based on how you do them, you can make them either a little bit more hamstring or a little bit more glute bias. And it really just depends on how much flexion you have at your knee or how much bend you have at your knee. So the more knee bend, the more glute bias. Obviously, you don't want to do crazy with the knee bend because then you're just doing squats and working your quads. But if I keep just a little soft bend in my knee and that doesn't change throughout the movement, that's going to get more stretch on my hamstrings and work those more. As opposed to if I get a little bit more bend in my knee, that's going to put more of a stretch on your glutes and make it a little bit more glute bias. So that's what we're going to do. And if these are hurting your back, obviously you want to focus on what your core is doing. Make sure you're getting a really good brace before each rep and holding that throughout the whole rep. But for me, I find the biggest thing is making sure I'm not going too far down. Obviously, a lot of times we think the bigger the range of motion, the better. But for these, as soon as you push past the point where your hips stop moving backwards, to get lower, your back is going to have to go down. And now you've lost a little bit of the tension in your glutes and your back is going to have to work to come up to that point where your hips can then contract forward. So don't be afraid to stop like just below your knee. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. That's usually what I aim for. But I used to feel like if I stopped before I had to, I like wasn't doing it as good as I could. But really when I pushed myself further, I was just starting to use my back and taking some of the work away from my glute. So you want to brace your core, lock in your lats so your shoulders aren't curving forward. Get a nice bend in your knee, and we're thinking push our hips back. Stop as soon as our hips stop moving back. So you don't have to be parallel to the ground. And then we're thinking drive our glutes forward. Typically do these at the end half of my workout, and like I said, I'm going more for volume as opposed to really pushing my weight with these. So I'm typically doing 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 of these. Lastly, we're going to do sumo squats. I've recently rekindled my love with sumo squats. I like to do these towards the end of my workouts because I find I can still go pretty heavy and high volume after my glutes are already pretty fatigued. With a dumbbell, we're going to get a pretty wide stance, wider than shoulder width, and a lot of people think just because we're in a wider stance that automatically makes our glutes work more, but really what it does is put more of a stretch on our adductors, so your adductors are going to be working as well here. The thing that's going to make it glute bias is the amount of hinge we're going to have in this exercise. So with a wider stance, it's easier for me to hinge more while getting a good range of motion, and that's how we're making this a glute bias movement when most squat variations are typically pretty quad biased. So feet wider than shoulder width apart. I have my toes pointed out a little bit just because that's what's most comfortable on my hips. You can kind of play around and just do what's most comfy for you. We're going to grab the dumbbell with both hands, sit back, brace our core, lock our shoulders in here, so as we're squatting, our shoulders aren't bending forward and we're pulling up with our back. So brace, lock in those shoulders, and we're driving up. We're gonna think push our hips back, get a good hinge so your chest is coming forward quite a bit. Pause at the bottom, drive up through the middle of your feet. Now when we come up, it's not an RDL, so we're not coming all the way up with our chest. You can keep your chest at that hinged forward position. So nice and slow and controlled. Touch down, drive up. And the mind to muscle connection is really important in these. You want to really focus on your glutes in these. And I typically will do 4 sets of these just because I like to end on kind of like a burnout. With 8 to 12 reps, depending on the weight I'm using, I want that last rep to be really hard. Okay guys, those were all of my favorite glute exercises and how to do them. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about anything, let me know down below, or you can ask me on Instagram. I'm usually able to answer the quickest on there. But yeah, my glutes hurt, I'm starving, I'm gonna go home and make some dinner. Let me know what video you want to see next time, and I'll see you then. Bye. Lights down right now, put me in the mood. I'm talking